This is not motivation. This is mental reprogramming. What you are about to absorb is not casual advice about making friends or networking. This is a fundamental rewiring of how you connect, influence, and lead others. This is the transformation from the person who fears social rejection to the one who magnetizes cooperation, respect, and genuine affection. Let me tell you something that most people never grasp until it's too late. Your relationships determine your reality. The way you treat others, the way you make them feel, the way you speak to their deepest human needs, this shapes not just your social life, but your career, your opportunities, your entire trajectory through this world. So what if you assumed, right now, that every person you meet is carrying an invisible sign that reads, "Make me feel important"? What if you lived like every conversation was an opportunity to elevate someone else, and in doing so, elevate yourself? What if you moved through the world not asking, "What can I get?" but "What can I give?" That is not naive optimism. That is social engineering. And it is how the greatest leaders, the most beloved figures, the most influential minds in history built their empires, not through force, but through understanding the fundamental human hunger for appreciation, respect, and genuine connection. Dale Carnegie didn't hope people would like him, he decided they would. He poured his belief into understanding human nature before the world even knew his name. When everyone said success was about being the smartest or the loudest, he built influence through listening. When others criticized and condemned, he chose to appreciate and understand. Franklin D. Roosevelt didn't command a nation through fear, he led through warmth that made people feel heard, valued, important. His presence made others feel like the most interesting person in the room, and that magnetism moved mountains. Abraham Lincoln didn't win debates by destroying his opponents, he won hearts by speaking to their highest aspirations. His empathy was so genuine, so consistent, that even his enemies couldn't help but respect him. Warren Buffett didn't build wealth just through financial genius, he built it through relationships forged by making others feel appreciated, understood, valuable. His ability to connect transformed business dealings into lasting partnerships. So why not you? Why not now? Why not today? You've spent enough time fearing judgment. Enough time worrying about what others think. Enough time shrinking when social moments matter most. Now it's time to flip the script, because the version of you that hesitates in conversation, that avoids conflict, that fears being misunderstood, cannot coexist with the version of you that walks into any room and makes others feel genuinely glad you're there. You cannot serve two minds. One must die. So today I hand you a new framework, a new filter, a new standard. Act as if every person you meet is the most important person in the world, not because it's manipulation, but because it makes you unstoppable. Because when you assume that human connection is the foundation of all achievement, you move with warmth. You speak with genuine interest. You listen with intensity. You influence without force. This video is your reset. Your new operating system. And it is to be repeated, not once, not twice, daily, until your subconscious accepts this truth as law. I am genuinely interested in others, and they feel it. Until social anxiety withers in the presence of your sincere care for others. Because fear cannot live where genuine interest is present. And the moment you live in alignment with the assumption that others want to feel valued, appreciated, and understood, you destroy the need to prove yourself. So listen with intensity. Speak these truths aloud. Let them enter your nervous system like fuel. Because what we do next is not motivation, it is reprogramming. And by the end of this session, you will not think the same about human relations. You will not move the same in social situations. And you will not be the same person who started this message. Let's begin. Chapter 1, The Fundamental Hunger. Let's start with a question that has the power to rewrite your entire approach to human relations. What if every person you've ever met, every person you will ever meet, is desperately hungry for one thing above all else? Not money, not success, not even love in the romantic sense. The deepest human need is the need to feel important, to feel valued, to feel like they matter. Most people walk through life starving for this recognition, this appreciation, this simple acknowledgement of their worth. They're carrying an invisible burden of insignificance, wondering if anyone sees them, if anyone cares, if their thoughts and feelings and dreams have any value at all. And here's the profound truth: the person who consistently feeds this hunger in others becomes magnetic. But there's another way most people live, the way that guarantees social failure, professional stagnation, and personal isolation. They live asking, do these people like me? What do they think of me? How can I impress them? How can I prove my worth? That energy, the desperate need for approval, repels people. It makes conversations feel transactional. It makes others uncomfortable because they can sense you're taking, not giving. But there's another way to live. A way that doesn't require perfection, doesn't demand charisma, doesn't need you to be the smartest person in the room. It simply asks one thing from you: to become genuinely interested in others. Because here's the truth: interest is not a feeling you wait for, it's a decision you make. And that decision directs the entire energy of your social interactions. When you decide to be genuinely interested in someone else's thoughts, their challenges, their victories, their perspective, something miraculous happens. They feel it. They respond to it. They open up because of it. The subconscious mind of every person you meet is constantly asking, does this person care about me, or do they just want something from me? If you're focused on what you can get: approval, validation, advancement, connection, people sense it. They feel used. They pull back. But when you flip the script, when you genuinely focus on what you can give: appreciation, understanding, respect, genuine interest, people are drawn to you like metal to a magnet. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine waking up every day with this quiet command running in the background: I am genuinely interested in making others feel valued. Even if you're nervous. Even if you don't know what to say. Even if the conversation feels awkward. You still show up like you care about them more than you care about looking good. You still listen like their words matter. You still respond like their feelings are valid. That mindset alone, practiced daily, would rewire your entire social life. Because when you assume others are worth understanding, you become calmer in conversations. You become more present in the moment. You move with confidence even when you don't feel confident, because your focus isn't on yourself. This isn't just social advice. This is leadership of self. Dale Carnegie once said, you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. That's not just a nice quote. That's a law of human nature. That's the difference between the person who struggles socially their entire life and the one who becomes beloved wherever they go. Henry Ford, when his critics mocked his simple approach to complex problems, didn't defend himself with arguments. He asked questions. He listened to their concerns. He made them feel heard before he ever asked them to understand his position. And that approach didn't just build cars, it built loyalty. Abraham Lincoln, during the most divisive period in American history, didn't win support by attacking his opponent's character. He won by appealing to their better angels, by making them feel like their concerns mattered, by treating them with respect even in disagreement. The weak try to be interesting. The powerful become interested. So let me ask you, what if everyone you meet today is carrying a burden you can't see? What if behind their confident exterior, they're wondering if they matter? What if your genuine interest in them, not fake, not manipulative, but real, could be the highlight of their day? You see, once you install that assumption, once it becomes your default, you no longer fear social situations. You welcome them. Because you're not there to perform. You're there to serve. You're not there to impress. You're there to understand. And the beautiful irony is this: when you stop trying to be impressive, you become impressive. When you stop trying to be liked, you become likable. When you stop focusing on yourself and start focusing on others, others naturally start focusing on you. So say it to yourself right now: I am genuinely interested in others. I don't need to prove my worth, I'm here to recognize theirs. This is not social manipulation. This is emotional maturity. It is the choice to walk through every interaction with generosity instead of neediness. With curiosity instead of judgment. With appreciation instead of criticism. Act as if every person has something valuable to teach you, and soon they will. Because what the mind focuses on, the heart connects with. And what the heart connects with, others feel. Chapter 2: The Power of Sincere Appreciation. There is one force more powerful than criticism, more influential than argument, more persuasive than logic. It is so simple that most people overlook it, so genuine that it cannot be faked, so rare that when someone experiences it, they never forget who gave it to them. That force is sincere appreciation. Not flattery. Not manipulation. Not empty compliments designed to get something in return. But real, honest, heartfelt recognition of value in another human being. Let me tell you something that will change how you see every interaction. Every person you meet is superior to you in some way. Every single one. They know something you don't know. They've experienced something you haven't experienced. They've overcome something you haven't faced. They possess some strength, some skill, some perspective that you could learn from if you have the wisdom to look for it. The person who consistently finds and acknowledges that superiority becomes irresistible. But there's a way most people operate that guarantees social failure and personal isolation. They live in constant comparison. They look for flaws to make themselves feel better. They criticize to establish dominance. They point out mistakes to prove their intelligence. That energy, that need to diminish others to elevate yourself, creates enemies. It breeds resentment. It makes people want to avoid you, even if they can't articulate why. But when you flip the script, when you become the person who finds the good in others and expresses it genuinely, you become magnetic. Because here's the profound truth: people will forget what you said, they will forget what you did, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And when you make someone feel appreciated, truly appreciated, for something real, something specific, something they didn't even know you noticed, you create a bond that logic cannot break. This is how Abraham Lincoln built loyalty in a divided cabinet. Instead of demanding agreement, he found reasons to appreciate each advisor's unique contribution. He praised their strengths publicly and addressed their weaknesses privately. He made them feel valuable even when they disagreed with him. The result? Men who came to destroy him left determined to serve him. This is how Dale Carnegie transformed from a poor farm boy into one of the most influential teachers in human history. He didn't focus on his own achievements. He focused on helping others recognize their achievements. He didn't try to be the star, he made others feel like stars. This is how Franklin D. Roosevelt led a nation through its darkest hours. He didn't motivate through fear or demand. He motivated through appreciation for the American spirit, recognition of individual sacrifice, acknowledgement of collective strength. Now listen carefully, appreciation is not a strategy. It's a way of seeing. When you train your mind to look for what's admirable in others, several things happen automatically. You become happier. It's impossible to focus on what you appreciate and remain bitter. You become more confident. When you stop competing with everyone, you start creating with everyone. You become influential. People want to be around those who make them feel good about themselves. You become memorable. In a world full of critics, the appreciator stands out. But here's the key, it must be sincere. False praise is worse than no praise. People can sense manipulation. They can feel when you're using compliments as a tool to get something you want. But when your appreciation is real, when it comes from genuine observation, when it's specific rather than general, when it costs you nothing but gives them everything, that's when the magic happens. The weak criticize what they don't understand. The strong appreciate what they do understand. So let me give you a practice that will transform your relationships within 30 days. Every day, find one person and give them one piece of sincere appreciation. Not good job or nice work, anyone can say that. But something specific. Something they didn't expect you to notice. Something that required you to actually see them as an individual. I noticed how patient you were with that difficult customer. That takes real character. The way you explained the concept made it so clear. You have a gift for making complex things simple. I've been watching how you handle pressure, and I'm impressed by how calm you stay. That's a real strength. Watch what happens. Watch how their posture changes. Watch how their energy shifts. Watch how they start to see themselves differently because of how you saw them. And here's the beautiful thing, when you consistently look for what's good in others, you train your mind to see goodness everywhere. You become the kind of person others want to be around. Not because you're perfect, but because you make them feel valuable. Charles M. Schwab, who became one of the highest paid executives in history, attributed his success to one principle: I never criticize anyone. I believe in giving a person incentive to work. So I am anxious to praise but loath to find fault. That wasn't just management philosophy. That was life philosophy. He understood that human beings wilt under criticism and flourish under appreciation. John D. Rockefeller, in building his oil empire, made it a practice to find something to appreciate in every person he worked with. He didn't ignore problems, but he addressed them from a foundation of respect and recognition. So ask yourself, when was the last time you gave someone sincere appreciation? When was the last time you made someone feel truly valued for who they are, not just what they do? The person who masters sincere appreciation masters human relations. Because in a world where most people are starving for recognition, the person who consistently feeds that hunger becomes indispensable. Say it now, I look for the good in others and express it genuinely. I am the kind of person who makes others feel valuable. This is not manipulation. This is elevation. It is the choice to use your words to build rather than tear down. To see clearly rather than judge harshly. To give others the gift of feeling appreciated in a world that rarely appreciates anything. And when you become that person, the appreciator, the encourager, the one who sees value where others see flaws, you don't just change their lives. You change your own. Chapter 3, The Magnetism of Genuine Interest. Let me tell you about the most powerful social skill ever discovered. It's not charisma. It's not wit. It's not even confidence. It's something so simple that children do it naturally, so effective that it can turn enemies into allies, so rare among adults that when someone possesses it, they become magnetic. That skill is genuine interest in other people. Not the fake interest that asks questions while thinking about what to say next. Not the strategic interest that builds rapport to get something. But the deep, authentic curiosity about another human being's thoughts, experiences, dreams, and challenges. Here's the truth that will revolutionize your social life. People are infinitely more interested in themselves than they are in you. That's not selfishness. That's human nature. Each person is living inside their own head, dealing with their own problems, carrying their own dreams, fighting their own battles. They think about their life approximately 10,000 times more than they think about yours. And the person who understands this really understands it, holds the key to unlimited influence. Because when you show genuine interest in what matters most to them, themselves, you become the most interesting person in their world. This is how Dale Carnegie went from a poor farm boy to dining with kings and presidents. He didn't try to impress them with his own stories. He became fascinated by theirs. He asked questions that nobody else thought to ask. He listened with an intensity that made them feel like the most important person alive. This is how Franklin D. Roosevelt could make a White House janitor feel as important as a senator. He remembered names. He asked about families. He showed interest in their work, their concerns, their lives outside of their service to him. This is how Warren Buffett built not just wealth but loyalty that lasted decades. In every business meeting, in every negotiation, he spent time understanding not just the numbers but the person behind them. Their motivations. Their fears. Their dreams. But here's what most people do instead. They wait for their turn to talk. They listen just long enough to find an opening to share their own experience. They ask questions but don't really hear the answers because they're too busy thinking about how this relates to them. That energy, that self-focused listening, creates distance. It makes others feel unheard, unimportant, invisible. But when you flip it, when you become genuinely fascinated by others, something extraordinary happens. You become unforgettable. Not because you said something brilliant, but because you made them feel brilliant. Not because you impressed them, but because you let them express themselves. Not because you were interesting, but because you were interested. Let me give you the formula. Step 1. Decide to be genuinely curious. Before you enter any conversation, make this internal commitment. I want to understand this person better when I leave than when I arrived. Step 2. Ask questions that show you're paying attention. Not generic questions like "How are you?" but specific ones that demonstrate you see them as an individual. What's the most challenging part of your role right now? What made you decide to get into this field? What's something you're excited about these days? Step 3. Listen with your entire being. Not just your ears, but your eyes, your attention, your energy. Show them through your body language that their words matter to you. Step 4. Ask follow-up questions. This is where the magic happens. Most people ask one question and then wait to talk. But when you dig deeper, what was that like for you? How did you handle that? What did you learn from that experience? You show that you're not just being polite. You're genuinely interested. Step 5. Remember what they tell you. And bring it up later. How did that project turn out? Did your daughter end up enjoying her new school? Have you had a chance to try that restaurant you mentioned? This isn't manipulation. This is connection. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop trying to be interesting and start being interested, you become the most interesting person in the room. Because in a world where everyone is fighting for attention, the person who gives attention becomes magnetic. Abraham Lincoln once said, "I don't like that man. I must get to know him better." Think about that. His instinct when he disliked someone wasn't to avoid them or criticize them. It was to understand them better. He knew that understanding breeds empathy, and empathy builds bridges. Henry Ford, despite being one of the most successful industrialists in history, made it a practice to spend time with his workers. Not just the executives, but the men on the assembly line. He asked about their families, their suggestions, their challenges. That genuine interest didn't just make him a better leader, it made him beloved. Charles M. Schwab became the highest-paid executive of his era not because he was the smartest man in steel, but because he made everyone feel like their contribution mattered. He remembered birthdays. He asked about personal goals. He showed interest in people as human beings, not just as employees. Now let me ask you, when was the last time you had a conversation where you learned something new about someone? When was the last time you asked a question that surprised someone with its thoughtfulness? Most people go through entire days, entire weeks, without having a single conversation where they show genuine interest in another person's inner world. But you can be different. Starting today. In every conversation, make this your goal: help the other person feel heard, understood, and valued. Not because it will benefit you, though it will, but because it's the right way to treat another human being. Say this to yourself: I am genuinely fascinated by other people. I listen to understand, not to reply. I make others feel important by showing authentic interest in their lives. This is not a technique to learn. This is an identity to become. The person who is genuinely interested in others doesn't have to work at being likable, they become likable naturally. And when you become that person, you discover something profound: the world is full of fascinating people with incredible stories, and all they needed was someone who cared enough to ask. Chapter 4: The Smile That Transforms Everything. There is one expression, one simple adjustment to your face, that can change the entire energy of any interaction. It costs nothing to give. It takes no special talent to master. It requires no preparation, no practice, no permission. And yet it possesses more power to open doors, soften hearts, and create connection than any words you could ever speak. That expression is a genuine smile. Not the fake, plastered-on smile of someone trying to please. Not the nervous grin of someone uncomfortable in their own skin. But the warm, authentic smile of someone who is genuinely glad to see another human being. Here's what most people don't understand: your face speaks before your mouth opens. Before you say a single word, before you introduce yourself, before you make your case or share your idea, your expression has already communicated volumes about who you are and how you feel about the person in front of you. A genuine smile says, "I'm glad you're here. I see you as a person worth knowing. This interaction is going to be pleasant." A frown or neutral expression says, "I'm tolerating this. I have better things to do. You're interrupting my day. Which message do you want to send?" But here's the profound truth that will change how you think about smiling: you don't smile because you're happy. You become happy because you smile. This isn't positive thinking nonsense. This is neurological fact. When you engage the muscles required for a genuine smile, you trigger the release of endorphins, serotonin, and dopamine. You literally change your brain chemistry. And when your brain chemistry changes, your entire energy changes. And when your energy changes, others feel it. This is how Dale Carnegie could walk into any room and immediately make friends. His smile wasn't a technique, it was an expression of his genuine pleasure in meeting new people. He understood that a smile is the most universal language of human connection. This is how Franklin D. Roosevelt could give hope to a nation during its darkest hours. Even in the depths of the Great Depression, even while fighting a world war, even while confined to a wheelchair, his smile communicated confidence, warmth, and optimism that people could feel through radio waves. This is how Mary Kay Ash built a cosmetics empire by making every woman feel beautiful. Her smile wasn't just friendly, it was affirming. It said, "You matter. You're valuable. You deserve to feel good about yourself." But let's be clear, I'm not talking about a fake smile. You know the difference. Everyone knows the difference. A fake smile only involves the mouth. A genuine smile, what psychologists call a Duchenne smile, involves the entire face. The eyes crinkle. The cheeks lift. The whole expression radiates warmth. A fake smile repels. A genuine smile attracts. So how do you develop a genuine smile? It starts with your internal state. You must genuinely like people. Not every person. Not every personality. But the human race in general. You must find something to appreciate about the fact that you're sharing this planet with other conscious beings, each with their own story, their own struggles, their own dreams. When you truly appreciate people, your smile becomes automatic. Abraham Lincoln, despite facing criticism, betrayal, and the weight of a divided nation, was known for his warm smile. Why? Because he genuinely cared about people. He saw the good in humanity even when humanity showed him its worst. Andrew Carnegie, who could have used his wealth to isolate himself from others, instead used his fortune to build libraries and universities. His smile in photographs wasn't the smile of a man posing for posterity, it was the smile of someone who genuinely enjoyed helping others succeed. Charles M. Schwab once said, "A man without a smiling face must not open a shop." He understood that business is fundamentally about human connection, and connection begins with the message your face sends. Now, let me give you a practice that will transform your daily interactions. For the next 30 days, make it your goal to smile first in every interaction. Not after they smile at you. Not after they prove they're friendly. Not after you decide whether you like them or not. Be the first to smile. Watch what happens. Watch how often people smile back. Watch how the energy of conversation shifts. Watch how differently people respond to you when your first expression is one of warmth. But here's the key, it must be genuine. So before you enter any social situation, take a moment to get into the right internal state. Think about something you genuinely appreciate. Remember that every person you meet is fighting battles you know nothing about. Decide to be glad to see them. When your internal state is right, your smile will be right. And when your smile is right, everything else becomes easier. People want to help those who seem happy to see them. They want to do business with those who make them feel welcome. They want to be around those who radiate positive energy. Your smile is your first gift to every person you meet. Make it a good one. Say this to yourself, "I smile because I genuinely like people. My smile opens doors, warms hearts, and creates connection. I am the kind of person others are glad to see." This is not about pretending to be happy when you're not. This is about choosing to focus on what you can appreciate rather than what you can criticize. About deciding to be a source of positive energy rather than negative energy. And when you become that person, the one with the genuine smile, the one who lights up when they see others, you don't just change how others see you. You change how you see yourself. Because it's impossible to consistently smile at others and remain bitter about life. It's impossible to radiate warmth and stay cold inside. Your smile is not just an expression. It's a decision about who you want to be in the world. Make it a decision you're proud of. Chapter 5, The Sweet Sound of Recognition. There is one sound in all the languages of the world that is music to every human ear. It's not applause, though people crave that. It's not laughter, though people seek that. It's something more personal, more intimate, more powerful than any other combination of syllables. That sound is a person's own name. Dale Carnegie called it the sweetest and most important sound in any language to that person. And he was right. Your name is not just a label. It's your identity wrapped in sound. It's the first gift your parents gave you. It's how you distinguish yourself from every other human being on the planet. And when someone remembers it, says it correctly, uses it naturally in conversation, they're sending a profound message: you matter. You're not just another face in the crowd. You're important enough for me to remember. But here's what most people do. They hear a name once and immediately forget it. They're too focused on themselves, too worried about what impression they're making, too distracted by their own thoughts to truly receive this gift someone has offered them. That negligence costs them one of the most powerful tools for building rapport, influence, and connection. Because when you remember someone's name and use it, you're not just being polite. You're making them feel significant. This is how Franklin D. Roosevelt could make a White House janitor feel as important as a cabinet member. He didn't just know their names, he used them. Good morning, James. How's your son doing in school? That janitor went home feeling like he mattered to the President of the United States. This is how Dale Carnegie could walk into a room of strangers and leave with a dozen friends. He made it a practice to learn not just names, but something personal about each person. Then he used both throughout the conversation. Mary, didn't you mention you were working on a new marketing campaign? How's that progressing? This is how Sam Walton built Walmart into a retail empire. He knew the names of thousands of employees. He would walk through stores, greet people by name, ask about their families, their goals, their challenges. Those employees didn't just work for Walmart, they worked for Sam. Because Sam saw them as individuals. But let's be honest, remembering names is hard. Especially when you meet many people. Especially when you're nervous or distracted. Especially when names are unfamiliar or complex. But here's the truth, if it's important to you, you'll find a way. If it's not, you'll find an excuse. So let me give you the system that will transform you into someone who never forgets a name. Step 1, hear it clearly. When someone introduces themselves, listen completely. If you don't catch it clearly, say, "I'm sorry, could you repeat that?" Most people are impressed by someone who cares enough to get their name right. Step 2, repeat it immediately. Nice to meet you, Jennifer. This starts the encoding process in your brain and shows them you're paying attention. Step 3, use it during the conversation. Not every sentence, but naturally throughout. Jennifer, what brought you to this event? That's fascinating, Jennifer. Each use strengthens the memory pathway. Step 4, create an association. Link their name to something memorable. Jennifer looks like your sister Jennifer. Mark has a distinctive mark on his chin. These connections help cement the name in your memory. Step 5, use it when you leave. It was great meeting you, Jennifer. I hope you enjoy the rest of the event. This final repetition often makes the difference between remembering and forgetting. But here's what separates the truly influential from the merely competent. They remember not just names, but details. Andrew Carnegie didn't just remember that someone worked in his steel mills. He remembered their family situations, their career aspirations, their personal challenges. Then he'd reference these details in future conversations. How's your daughter adjusting to her new school? Did you ever decide to take that engineering course we discussed? Abraham Lincoln was famous for this. He would remember not just names but stories. A farmer he met once, a soldier who served in his unit, a woman who wrote him a letter. Years later, he'd reference those conversations, those details, those personal connections. The message this sends is profound. You're not just another person I've met. You made an impression. You matter enough for me to remember. Now, let me ask you, how often do you use someone's name in conversation? How often do you remember personal details they've shared? How often do you make people feel recognized rather than anonymous? In a world where most people feel invisible, the person who makes others feel seen becomes magnetic. Charles M. Schwab understood this so well that he made it a company policy. Every executive was expected to know the names of their direct reports, their spouses' names, their children's names. Because he knew that people don't just work for companies, they work for people who make them feel valued. Mary Kay Ash built her cosmetics empire on this principle. She treated every consultant like they were wearing an invisible sign that said, "Make me feel important." She remembered names, celebrated achievements, made everyone feel like they were her favorite person in the room. Here's your challenge. For the next 30 days, make it your goal to remember and use at least one person's name in every social interaction. Watch what happens. Watch how their face lights up when you use their name. Watch how much more engaged they become in conversation. Watch how much more willing they are to help you, connect with you, remember you. Say this to yourself: I remember names because people matter. I use names because recognition creates connection. I am the kind of person who makes others feel seen and valued. This is not a memory trick. This is a respect practice. It's the decision to treat every person you meet as an individual worthy of recognition rather than just another face in your day. And when you become that person, the one who remembers, the one who recognizes, the one who uses the sweet sound of someone's name to make them feel important, you don't just improve your relationships. You improve who you are. Because it's impossible to consistently make others feel important and not develop genuine care for people. It's impossible to remember names without becoming more observant. It's impossible to use someone's name without creating a moment of human connection. Your ability to remember and use names is your ability to make others feel valued. And in a world where most people feel overlooked, that ability is priceless. Chapter 6: The Art of Listening Like a Leader. Let me tell you about the most undervalued, underused, and underestimated skill in all of human relations. It's not speaking eloquently. It's not having brilliant ideas. It's not even being right about everything. It's the ability to listen, truly listen, to another human being. Not the distracted listening most people do while thinking about what they'll say next. Not the impatient listening that waits for a pause to jump in with their own story. But the deep, focused, generous listening that makes another person feel heard, understood, and valued. Here's the truth that will revolutionize your influence: most people have never been truly listened to in their entire lives. They've been heard, yes. They've had people respond to their words. But they've rarely experienced the profound gift of someone's complete, undivided attention focused entirely on understanding their thoughts, feelings, and perspectives. And when you give that gift, You become unforgettable. This is how Dale Carnegie could make enemies into allies. He didn't argue with them. He didn't try to prove them wrong. He listened to them. He let them express their frustrations, their concerns, their perspectives. And in that listening, something miraculous happened. They felt understood. And people who feel understood are willing to understand in return. This is how Abraham Lincoln held together a cabinet of rivals. Men who came to meetings ready to fight left feeling heard. Lincoln would let each person speak their mind fully before responding. He asked clarifying questions. He paraphrased their concerns to show he understood. That listening didn't just prevent conflicts, it built loyalty. This is how Franklin D. Roosevelt could unite a divided nation. In his fireside chats, he spoke directly to people's concerns because he had listened to those concerns first. His policies weren't formed in isolation, they were responses to the voices of citizens he had truly heard. But here's what most people do instead: they listen just long enough to find an opening to speak. They're not processing what's being said, they're preparing their response. They're not seeking to understand, they're waiting to be understood. That kind of listening creates distance. It makes people feel unheard, unimportant, frustrated. But when you flip it, when you listen with the genuine intention to understand rather than to reply, everything changes. People will tell you things they've never told anyone else. They'll share their dreams, their fears, their deepest concerns. They'll open up because they can sense that you're truly receiving what they're giving. Here's the system for listening like a leader. Step 1. Give your complete attention. Put down your phone. Turn your body toward them. Make eye contact. Show them through your posture that they have your full focus. Step 2. Listen for feelings, not just facts. Most people aren't just sharing information, they're sharing emotions. Listen for what they're really saying beneath the words. Step 3. Ask clarifying questions. What was that like for you? How did you feel when that happened? What do you think would help? These questions show you're engaged and want to understand deeper. Step 4. Reflect back what you've heard. So what I'm hearing is, it sounds like you're feeling. Your main concern seems to be. This confirms you're truly listening and gives them a chance to clarify. Step 5. Validate their experience. You don't have to agree with everything they say, but you can acknowledge their right to feel how they feel. That must have been frustrating. I can understand why that would concern you. Charles M. Schwab became the highest paid executive of his era not because he talked the most in meetings, but because he listened the most. He made it a practice to hear every perspective before making decisions. People felt valued because their input was genuinely considered. Andrew Carnegie built his steel empire by listening to his workers, his customers, his competitors. He understood that the person who listens learns, and the person who learns leads. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, attributes much of his success to listening. He spends more time listening to business leaders, reading annual reports, and understanding different perspectives than he does talking about his own views. Now let me ask you, when was the last time you listened to someone so completely that they thanked you for it? When was the last time someone said, "I feel so much better after talking to you"? That's the power of true listening. It's healing. It's connecting. It's leadership. Say this to yourself: I listen to understand, not to reply. I give others the gift of my complete attention. I am the kind of person others feel safe opening up to. This is not just communication skill. This is emotional intelligence. It's the recognition that in a world where everyone is fighting to be heard, The person who listens becomes the most influential voice in the room. Chapter 7. Speaking to their interests, not yours. Here's a truth that will transform every conversation you ever have. People are not interested in you. They are not interested in your problems, your achievements, your opinions, or your agenda. They are interested in themselves and what matters to them. That's not selfishness. That's human nature. And the person who understands this really understands it holds the key to unlimited influence. The amateur talks about what interests him. The professional talks about what interests the other person. Think about the last boring conversation you endured. What made it boring? Someone was talking about something that mattered to them but not to you. They were sharing their passion, their expertise, their experience, but they weren't connecting it to your world, your needs, your interests. This is how Dale Carnegie could captivate any audience. He didn't talk about public speaking because he loved it. He talked about how public speaking could help them advance their careers, overcome their fears, achieve their goals. He made it about them. This is how Franklin D. Roosevelt could rally a nation. He didn't talk about his policies because he was proud of them. He talked about how those policies would help families keep their homes, help workers find jobs, help America emerge stronger. He made it about them. This is how Henry Ford could sell cars to people who had never owned one. He didn't talk about the mechanical innovations he was proud of. He talked about the freedom, the convenience, the status that car ownership would bring them. He made it about them. The principle is simple. Start with their world, not yours. Before you share your idea, ask yourself, why should they care about this? How does this benefit them? What's in it for them? Before you tell your story, ask yourself, how does this relate to their experience? What can they learn from this? How will this help them? Before you make your request, ask yourself, what's their motivation to say yes? How does helping me help them? What value am I offering in return? This isn't manipulation. This is consideration. It's the difference between being self-centered and being other-centered. Between being a taker and being a giver. Between being ignored and being influential. Abraham Lincoln mastered this principle. When he wanted to convince someone of something, he didn't start with why it mattered to him. He started with why it should matter to them. His arguments were always framed in terms of their values, their concerns, their benefits. Andrew Carnegie used this principle to build his fortune. When he was selling steel, he didn't talk about the quality of his product. He talked about how his steel would make their buildings stronger, their costs lower, their projects more successful. Charles M. Schwab used this principle to lead teams. He didn't motivate people by talking about company profits. He motivated them by talking about personal growth, career advancement, the pride of being part of something excellent. Here's how to apply this in every conversation. Step 1. Research their world. What are their challenges? What are their goals? What keeps them up at night? What excites them? Step 2. Find the connection. How does what you want to share relate to what they care about? What's the bridge between your message and their interests? Step 3. Start with them. I know you've been working on expanding your customer base. Since you mentioned you're looking for ways to save time. Given your interest in leadership development. Now let me ask you, when was the last time you made someone feel genuinely important? When was the last time you helped someone see their own value? In a world where most people feel invisible, overlooked, and undervalued, the person who consistently makes others feel important becomes irreplaceable. Here's your practice. Every day, find one way to make one person feel more important. It might be asking for their advice on something. It might be acknowledging something they do well. It might be simply listening to them with complete attention. Watch what happens. Watch how their posture changes. Watch how their energy shifts. Watch how they start to see themselves differently. And watch how they start to see you. Say this to yourself: I make others feel important because they are important. I recognize value in every person I meet. I am the kind of person who lifts others up. This is not just a relationship strategy. This is a way of seeing the world. It's the recognition that every person you meet knows something you don't know, has experienced something you haven't experienced, and possesses some form of value that you can appreciate. When you live from that understanding, you don't just improve your relationships. You improve your character. Because it's impossible to consistently make others feel important and remain small-minded. It's impossible to regularly acknowledge others' value and stay bitter. It's impossible to lift others up without elevating yourself. The person who makes others feel important becomes important. The person who values others becomes valuable. The person who recognizes greatness in others develops greatness in themselves. Chapter 9. The decision that changes everything. There comes a moment in every person's life when they must make a choice that will determine the trajectory of every relationship they'll ever have. It's not a choice about career or location or lifestyle. It's the choice about who you will be in the presence of other people. Will you be the person who takes energy or gives it? Will you be the person who makes others feel diminished or elevated? Will you be the person who creates connection or division? This choice, once made fully and finally, changes everything. Most people never make this choice consciously. They drift through relationships reacting to moods, circumstances, and feelings. They're friendly when they feel good, distant when they don't. They're encouraging when it's convenient, critical when they're frustrated. But the masters of human relations, the ones who build empires of influence, they make this choice once and live by it regardless of circumstances. Dale Carnegie made this choice early in his life. I will be genuinely interested in other people and help them feel important. That decision, maintained through decades of teaching and writing, transformed him from a poor farm boy into one of the most influential teachers in human history. Abraham Lincoln made this choice during the darkest period of American history. I will treat every person with dignity, even my enemies. That decision held a nation together when it could have been torn apart by hatred. Franklin D. Roosevelt made this choice when polio could have embittered him. I will be a source of hope and optimism for others. That decision enabled him to lead America through depression and war. Henry Ford made this choice when others mocked his vision. I will persist in believing in people's potential. That decision revolutionized not just transportation but how we think about human capability. What choice will you make? Because here's the truth: you cannot serve two identities. You cannot be the person who sometimes lifts others up and sometimes tears them down. You cannot be genuinely interested in people on good days and self-absorbed on difficult days. Consistency in character is what creates trust. And trust is the foundation of all influence. So today, I challenge you to make the same choice that every great leader has made. I will be a person who adds value to every life I touch. Not because others deserve it, though they do. Not because it will benefit you, though it will. But because that's who you've decided to be. That means, in every conversation, you will look for ways to serve rather than ways to impress. In every interaction, you will seek to understand rather than to be understood. In every relationship, you will ask, how can I help, rather than what can I get? This is not personality. This is purpose. And when you align your daily actions with this purpose, something extraordinary happens. You become magnetic. Not because you're trying to attract people, but because you're consistently adding value to their lives. Not because you're seeking influence, but because you're earning it through service. Charles M. Schwab made this choice and became the highest paid executive of his era. Not because he was the smartest man in steel, but because he consistently made others feel valued and capable. Andrew Carnegie made this choice and built one of history's greatest fortunes. Not just through business acumen, but through the ability to inspire others to achieve more than they thought possible. Mary Kay Ash made this choice and revolutionized an industry. Not just by selling cosmetics, but by helping women see their own beauty and potential. The choice you make about who you will be in relationships determines everything that follows. If you choose to be someone who criticizes, you'll attract critics and live in conflict. If you choose to be someone who complains, you'll attract complainers and live in negativity. If you choose to be someone who competes, you'll attract competitors and live in struggle. But if you choose to be someone who appreciates, encourages, and elevates others, you'll attract people who want to be around you, work with you, and help you succeed. This choice must be made not once, but daily. Every morning, you must decide, today, I will be a person who makes others feel important. Every interaction, you must remember, my purpose here is to serve, not to take. Every challenging moment, you must choose, I will respond with grace, not react with emotion. This is not easy, but it is simple. And it is the foundation of every meaningful relationship you will ever build. Step 4. Make it relevant. Don't just share information that applies to their situation. Don't just tell stories they can learn from. Step 5. Ask for their perspective. What's your experience with this? How do you see this applying to your situation? What questions does this raise for you? Mary Kay Ash built her cosmetics empire by understanding this principle perfectly. She didn't talk to women about makeup because she loved makeup. She talked to them about confidence, about feeling beautiful, about the success and independence they could achieve. She made it about their dreams, not her products. Sam Walton revolutionized retail by always thinking about what customers wanted, not what he wanted to sell. Every decision was filtered through the question, how does this benefit the customer? Now let me ask you, in your last important conversation, how much time did you spend talking about what mattered to you versus what mattered to them? Most people spend 80% of their conversation time on their own interests and wonder why others seem disengaged. But when you flip that ratio, when you spend 80% of your time focused on their interests, everything changes. They become more engaged. They listen more carefully. They remember you more clearly. They want to help you more readily. Say this to yourself, I speak to their interests, not mine. I make every conversation about how I can serve their needs, solve their problems, or support their goals. I am genuinely interested in what matters to them. This is not about losing yourself or abandoning your own agenda. This is about being strategic in how you pursue your agenda. When you help others get what they want, they become naturally motivated to help you get what you want. That's not manipulation. That's influence. That's leadership. That's how you build relationships that last and achieve results that matter. Chapter 8, The Power of Making Others Feel Important. Every human being walks through life carrying an invisible hunger. It's not for food or money or even love in the traditional sense. It's deeper than that, more fundamental, more universal. It's the hunger to feel important, to feel significant, to feel like they matter. And here's the profound truth that separates those who struggle with relationships from those who excel at them. The person who consistently feeds this hunger in others becomes magnetic, influential, and beloved. This is not about flattery. This is not about manipulation. This is about recognizing the genuine value that exists in every human being and helping them see it too. Think about the last time someone made you feel truly important. Not just complimented, but genuinely valued. How did it feel? How did it change your energy? How did it affect your opinion of that person? That feeling, that experience of significance, is something you can give to every person you meet. Dale Carnegie understood this so deeply that he made it the foundation of his entire philosophy. He didn't just teach people skills, he made them feel capable of greatness. He didn't just give advice, he helped people see their own potential. Franklin D. Roosevelt had a gift for this. Whether he was speaking to a world leader or a White House janitor, he made each person feel like their contribution mattered. He would ask the janitor about his work as seriously as he would ask a general about military strategy. Abraham Lincoln, despite carrying the weight of a divided nation, took time to make individual soldiers feel important. He would visit hospitals, remember names, ask about families. Those soldiers didn't just fight for the Union, they fought for a president who made them feel valued. But here's what most people do instead: they try to make themselves feel important by diminishing others. They criticize to feel superior. They argue to feel smart. They ignore others to feel powerful. They name drop to feel significant. That energy repels people. It creates resentment. It builds walls instead of bridges. But when you flip it, when you make your mission to help others feel important, something extraordinary happens. You become important to them. Not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. Not because you took significance, but because you gave it. Here's how to make anyone feel important. Step 1, pay attention to them. In a world of distractions, your focused attention is a rare gift. Put away your phone. Make eye contact. Show them they have your complete focus. Step 2, ask for their opinion. What do you think about this? How would you handle this situation? What's your experience with this? Everyone has knowledge and perspective that you can learn from. Step 3, listen to their answer. Don't just ask and then ignore their response. Engage with what they're saying. Ask follow-up questions. Show that their thoughts matter to you. Step 4, acknowledge their expertise. Everyone is an expert at something. Find what they know that you don't. You really understand this industry. You have such insight into people. Your experience with this is valuable. Step 5, thank them genuinely. Not just for what they do for you, but for who they are. I appreciate your perspective. Thank you for sharing that with me. I'm glad I know you. Charles M. Schwab became one of the highest paid executives in history by mastering this principle. He made every employee feel like their work mattered. He remembered birthdays, asked about families, celebrated achievements. People didn't just work for him, they wanted to excel for him. Andrew Carnegie built his empire by making his partners feel important. He gave them titles, recognition, ownership stakes. He understood that when people feel important, they do important work. Mary Kay Ash revolutionized business by treating every consultant like royalty. Pink Cadillacs, crowns, ceremonies. She understood that recognition and appreciation were more motivating than money alone. Sam Walton knew every store manager's name and made each one feel like a crucial part of Walmart's success. They weren't just employees, they were partners in building something great. Say this now, with conviction: I choose to be a person who adds value to every life I touch. I will be genuinely interested in others, make them feel important, and seek their success as eagerly as I seek my own. That declaration, lived out consistently, will transform not just your relationships but your entire life. Because when you become the kind of person others are grateful to know, you become the kind of person who attracts opportunity, influence, and genuine friendship. The choice is yours. Make it now. Make it final. Make it the foundation of everything that follows. Final chapter, the daily practice of transformation. You have absorbed the principles. You understand the philosophy. You see the vision of who you can become. But understanding is not transformation. Knowledge is not change. Insight is not identity. The person you will become is determined not by what you know, but by what you practice daily. So let me give you the system, the daily ritual that will reprogram your mind and reshape your relationships. Every morning, before you encounter another human being, you will speak these words aloud. Today, I am genuinely interested in other people. I listen to understand, not to reply. I make others feel important because they are important. I speak to their interests, not mine. I smile because I appreciate the opportunity to connect. I remember names because people matter. I give sincere appreciation because everyone has value. Every interaction, you will remember this purpose. My job here is not to impress but to serve. Not to take but to give. Not to prove my worth but to recognize theirs. Every evening, you will reflect on these questions. Did I make someone feel important today? Did I listen more than I spoke? Did I show genuine interest in another person's world? How can I serve better tomorrow? This is not motivational fluff. This is mental engineering. Repetition is the mother of skill. Consistency is the father of excellence. Daily practice is the pathway to permanent transformation. Dale Carnegie didn't become great through a single insight. He became great through daily commitment to treating people with dignity and respect. Abraham Lincoln didn't develop his character in a moment of inspiration. He developed it through years of choosing empathy over anger, understanding over judgment. Franklin D. Roosevelt didn't learn to influence people through a weekend seminar. He learned through decades of making others feel heard, valued, and important. Your transformation will happen the same way: one day, one interaction, one choice at a time. But you must be patient with the process and persistent with the practice. Some days you will forget these principles. You will react instead of respond. You will focus on yourself instead of others. You will criticize instead of encourage. That's not failure. That's humanity. The measure of your growth is not perfection, it's progress. Not elimination of mistakes, but reduction of them. Not immediate mastery, but consistent improvement. What matters is this: when you fall short of your standard, you return to it quickly. You don't abandon the practice because you're imperfect. You recommit to the process because you're committed to growth. And gradually, slowly, surely, these principles will become part of who you are. You won't have to remember to be interested in others, you will be naturally curious about them. You won't have to force yourself to listen, you will genuinely want to understand. You won't have to work at making others feel important, you will automatically see and acknowledge their value. That's when you know that transformation is complete. When what you practice becomes who you are. So make this commitment now. I will practice these principles daily, not perfectly, but persistently. I will measure my success not by how others treat me, but by how I treat others. I will become the kind of person I would want to know, work with, and trust. And remember this truth: the world desperately needs people who understand these principles. People who make others feel valued, heard, and important. People who build bridges instead of walls, who create connection instead of division. You have the opportunity to be one of those people. Not someday. Today. Not when you feel ready. While you're becoming ready. Not when it's easy. Especially when it's hard. Your relationships are waiting. Your influence is waiting. Your legacy is waiting. All that's required is the daily decision to be genuinely interested in other people and to make them feel important. Everything else will follow. Now go. Practice. Transform. Become the person who changes every room they enter, every life they touch, every relationship they build. The world is waiting for the person you're becoming.